It's betas and gamma or betas and alphas. Um, I don't really have much else to talk about. But so what are quadros? They both value TI and FE, so there's some similarity between their both their TI and FE, obviously. So they care about logical consistency, they care about logical structure and emotional expression, being able to express one's emotions and to at some level connect with other people, participate in collective moods, so on and so forth. One of the biggest differences between the two, you can kind of think of this in group settings, it might help. If there's a general topic that's being discussed, alphas want everybody to participate in the group discussion, which comes from extroverted intuition in combination with extroverted feeling and basically an introverted logic. So when you think about a group of people and there's a general discussion going on, you have different perspectives that are represented in the group. And for an alpha type, you can't get the full picture or expand potential um, if it's only just you. It's there's more potential to be had in the discussion if there's more perspectives brought into the discussion. And so you could say there's a general um, dialogue or a bunch of people participating in the group. Whereas beta types might have one primary topic and I would say that they're not necessarily interested in as much about everybody's perspective, but rather one perspective dominating the rest, one prevailing consensus. And the way that they come to that consensus is through verbal combat, is through more aggressive means of communication. It's not as if beta types don't care about other people's opinions. In a group, if there's one topic, then there's always going to be kind of a intra competition on who represents the topic the best by what they're saying. So there's a lot of, verbal sparring going back and forth. There's a lot of jockeying for position. And so, and the one that's capable of commanding the group or, um, what do you want to say? Having their view on the top of the mountain. Um, that's the one that's probably going to speak the most, and that person's probably going to be defending themselves and their view against everybody else in the group. So necessarily, it's very combative and it's very argumentative. Alpha types are a lot different for those reasons. Alpha types might enjoy a little fun debate, but not at the expense of another view not being represented. And this is very general. Once you get into the specific types within alpha or with the specific types within beta quadra, some of these look a little different, but generally speaking, that's true. Um, because alphas are geared towards potential and homeostasis, peace, um, whereas betas are geared towards dominance and impact and direction and meaning, right? So this kind of changes the dynamics of the kinds of social gatherings between alphas and betas. I'm trying to think of what else. And in a group of alphas, there's going to be, some kind of food or drink or physical thing that brings people together. And there's a general peace that exists in the environment because of that, right? They have their little treats, they have their drinks, they have their fun stories, their campfire, they're cozy. And so there's a backdrop of tranquility, even though there might be some spurgers in the group with extrovert intuition kind of adding to the potential within the conversation to somewhat add some dynamics, um, to add some uh, intellectuality into the environment. It can't just be physical peace and homeostasis because that will get boring and old pretty quickly. So you have to have a level of curiosity and mental uh, engagement for an alpha type. So, but with beta types, there is that peaceful, tranquil vibe doesn't really exist, because there's always going to be some level of antagonism or some level of competition interjected in that group. The backdrop for a beta type would be NI, which would be meaning. What's meaningful in life? What's significant? Where are things headed? What's the meaning of life, for example? It might be that kind of uh, other side of the coin for beta types. You have competition, and you have expansive, impact driven, da 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 da, whatever. And then on the other side, you have um, a more reflective, soulful sense that comes from NI. Uh, but the physical piece often it often lacks. There's not a lot of, and again, there's variation. SLEs, the beta STs have good use of SI. They're strong with SI, whereas the beta NFs not so much. But generally speaking, there's a lot of horse playing. There's a lot of uh, lack of stability. Like if you're in the environment and you're not a beta type, you might feel disoriented or destabilized, and you know, um, because you're being pushed and pulled and joked at and challenged intellectually, and um, there's a lot of strong emotionality going on. There's a lot of probably vulgarity and just like all of those things that aren't really conducive for a peaceful hangout. Now, to everyone in that is peaceful, right? That's because it's natural. But for someone else that's not a beta type, um, if they're a delta or a somewhat jarring. Um, yeah, I mean that's and there's definitely some similarities. Again, there is free emotional expression between both groups. There is a desire for clarity and understanding and clear logical reasons for the things that they believe or think. That's going to be there, and that's going to be similar. But obviously, that's basically all that they share in common. At least those are the strong connection between alphas and betas. Um, lighthearted does not look like beta lightheartedness because the quality of jokes are applied differently. So for a beta type, lightheartedness and joking looks like roasting you or making fun of you. It looks like browbeating or whatever the word is, or busting someone's balls, right? But to them, they might think that that's uh, lightheartedness. But to someone else that's not a beta type, that looks like bullying. That looks like hazing. That looks a lot different than just being lighthearted. Um, and a little bit more serious than the term lightheartedness would seem to suggest. Alpha's version of lightheartedness is social retardation. Um, it is making jokes that are so absurd that they come off corny and stupid. Word games or just uh, it's goofy, right? In a sense, it is more. It's probably closer to the definition of lightheartedness, but it's random, it's quirky, it's goofy, it's childish, it's um cringe. It's not aggressive and it's not targeted at anybody else, usually. Um, a beta type might just use a person in the group as a launching pad for further jokes. Namely, they might just be roasting you out of everybody there. And that might just create the energy for the room. It's like, okay, now let's all make fun of this person. Okay, now that we've done that, let's make fun of that person. So the positive emotional energy in the room is at the expense of someone getting absolutely torched. um, which for some people is just too much. And they don't feel like they belong. And they don't feel like they belong because the entire time they're the butt of the jokes and they're getting absolutely torched. So um or they think they're getting picked on or whatever. But betas value introverted logic. And so there's a sense of fairness. So if I can think of a clever joke to roast the guy who just roasted me, then that's possible. Like everyone, no one's exempt. Funny is funny. And if you can roast me, well, then you just roasted me. But then now you're creating an internal competition. Because if you outdo me, then I have to outdo you, which increases the quality of the product. It's just capitalism applied to comedy or a social gathering. You're like, well, now I have to make the best joke, which requires me, my level of meanness is automatically rising. And my accuracy, my observation about you is increasing as well. So the joke might sting harder. Therefore, I won, and you'll probably uh, you will no longer make fun of me. That's the joke economy in the world of beta types. Alphas do not do this. Not nearly as much. There might be some that do it more than others, but they're still going to. They might, joke very uh, lightheartedly about someone else, but it's obvious that they're joking because they don't have strong emotions behind it. For one, um, and two, they might uh I don't know, like they just let it go. Whereas beta types will not let something go until they feel like they've wrung everything out of something. Especially if because there's the aspect of competition. And if the competition is present, they're going to they might be inclined to keep going with it, whatever. I'm just thinking out loud here with that one. But um trying to think of what else. Um, hmm. Another way they're similar, I probably already alluded to this, but um, they're not so much about picking individuals in the group to relate with, generally because they value FE. So in value, they're more concerned about that I've alluded to before, is that they both value introverted, extroverted ethics, and so they're not really all that concerned with connecting with individuals because they value extroverted ethics. They care one person in the group and trying to relate with him, talk with him specifically. Whereas if you have an FI valuing type or Quadra, they have a more one-to-one way of communicating with people in groups. They might pull someone aside. They might uh, just make jokes that only one person would get, or something to this effect. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. But generally speaking, there's a mood that's created by having a bunch of people in that group, and that's the thing that they're trying to manage. They're trying to manage that, and alphas do that by using food or good drinks or something physical that accompanies the energy. It makes it comfortable and positive, basically. Niceties, physical, treats, drinks, stuff like that. Betas are the same way in respect to managing and contributing to the general energy. Betas are not, they might single you out in a different sense to make fun of you, um, potentially, but they're not doing it in an FI sense in that they're trying to relate to you on an individual level. That's not their prerogative. Their prerogative is trading jokes back and forth, um, enjoying in the emotional energy that's in the room. Um, you know, one sin of betas in a group is if someone gets is kind of moralizing and kind of policing what's being said. This is true generally of FE quadras anyway, that they don't like being policed about what they can talk about or the way they express themselves, but or what opinion they're allowed to share or not. Alphas and betas are not privy to this, and they don't, especially beta types, they really don't. Uh, you're giving them an incentive to pick on you for one, and uh, so these are some of these observations are general. I'm not saying that this happens exactly the way that I'm saying it, but these are noticeable generalities that you can understand the difference or the similarity between alphas and betas. Um, you know, I could see some beta types if they if they can see that someone's getting super butt, or it depends on if they know you or not, but they're gonna be like, "Hey, bro, it's just a joke. Like, it's okay. You're gonna survive." um, you know, and so I'm not saying that this is all you know mechanistic and they have to engage in this way because they're that type and da 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 da. But there are some general truths that you can observe between the two quadros. I mean, if you're in VCs, note the people in the VCs. What are they doing? Um, how are they engaging with the rest of the group? Like these are real observations. It's assuming the people are typed accurately. But if you know someone's type, just note what they're doing. Note what they're saying. Note things, you could pick up on things just by having conversations with them in Discord or whatever. And we're pretty predictable. Human beings are very predictable, and we do the same things, focus on the same things, gripe about the same things pretty consistently. So you can notice some of these things in Discord, or if a Discord is dominated by betas, what do they do a lot of the time? Well, most of the time they are arguing with each other. Most of the time they're contending for their opinion over and against others, or their system over and against others, or their rationale, whatever. That's a yeah, that's pretty true in every Discord group I've been in. Alphas are usually in the background saying retarded stuff that's completely beside the point, and from my perspective, a lot of times don't have much to contribute. Um, Sometimes they can be funny, sometimes they can be distracting, and it's like a fly that just flies around your face that you can't quite grab, and it pisses you off because you can't grab it. That's basically alphas. Um, and they know how to interject commentary, things that it puzzles you. This has happened to me so many times. I'll be talking to someone on Discord, and an alpha type will interject just a very succinct statement. Succinct in that it's quick and efficient, but the content's retarded. It's loaded with retardation. And it's so distracting that I will be talking about something and I will think about what the alpha type just said. And I'm like, what? Like, whoa, what? Uh, it's actually I don't know if I would want to go so far as say it's a skill, but maybe a skill, an infamous skill at distraction. They'll just say one thing, and you're like, how how did you? Yeah. So that happens all the time. They are gifted at distraction and beside the point statements. Um, yeah, they're some of them are harder to drown out than others, depending on the type. ESCs can be bruh, can be impossible because they have enough force to man the attention. Like they can take up the space, and they're taking up the space with retardation. And you're like, why? Shut up. Why? Who's allowing you to talk? Like, I don't get it. Um, what's another difference or similarity? I basically covered everything. I can't really think of. Uh, this is another thing. Um, whatever topic that the Beta Quadra is discussing, there is a natural end to it. It's just a matter of whether they feel they have they're argued enough about a topic, or there's no resolution, or there's a winner and it just naturally fizzles out. So their curiosity has a natural end in those kinds of discussions because it's directing. It's kind of outcome focused. So necessarily there has to be some resolution. They might at another time bring it back up, but for that conversation, it might have a beginning and an end to it. Whereas alpha types, there isn't a beginning and an end. There's just unadulterated, random generation of ideas and launching points in the conversation. So So you could just keep extrapolating on the original topic into new territories, where you don't know how you got to where you were, and the conversation could go on forever because it's there's new points being made constantly, new starting points, new, you know, kind of get my idea. Um, I can see an alpha side, you know, this reminds me of that thing, and that reminds me of this thing, and and then you have everybody else contributing to those new topics, which takes time, of which they're all thinking about potential. And so that could go on so long where you're actually hungry and you're actually thirsty. And that's where the SI comes in, where you've spurred out for so long about so many different kinds of topics that your body is shriveling up and you're realizing you're in a severe caloric deficit. And okay, so that's the other side of NE is DSI because you can only spurg so long without calories. You know, and so they just then they refuel. They fuel themselves. They rehydrate, and they have new energy dedicated for continued spurging. And it seemingly doesn't end. And you're like, I'm done with this conversation. Yeah. So that's all I have. A little short, but it's all good. All right. Peace.